The Indian merchant's arm shot forward, his fingers stabbing the air toward the Somali herdsman. The herdsman met it with steady gaze, calm but edged with defiance. The cling of silver coins, the restless groan of camels, the cries of gulls above. This was no street quarrel, it was an appointment, the hour, set aside for both men to present their case before the Sultan's council. And so the crowd pressed forward through the market's heart toward the sprawling tamarind tree, Lasqorey's open-air courtroom. I am Abdul Quddus Donyare, and this story comes from my forthcoming book, The Warsangali Sultanate, Law, Land, and the Resistance in the Horn of Africa. What Richard Burton saw in 1855 beneath the tamarind tree was more than a quarrel, it was a living architecture of Somali law. The air was thick with scent of salt, dried fish and frankincense. Camels brayed, gulls circled, traders from Arabia, India, and the Somali interior haggled over goods. But at this hour, the market was also a courtroom beneath the tamarind shade. 12 elders sat in quiet formation, robes stirring in the wind. A scribe readied his reed pen, prepared to capture every word in Arabic script, the same script in which the Somali language had been written long before Latin letters. The Sultan presided, not as a distant monarch, but as the first among equals. For Richard Burton, standing at the edge with the notebook in hand, the scene was revelation. Authority summoned not by armies, but by custom. Justice not whispered in chambers, but spoken in the open air. The merchant's voice tumbled out like fire, demanding justice, restitution, dignity. The herdsman shot back, swearing by God and by lineage that no theft had been done. The crowd swayed like a stormy sea. Elders muttered proverbs. Merchants whispered of lost prophets. Warriors shifted on their feet, fists tightening on the spears. Women clutched shawls, whispering of how quarrels over camel had once split community for a generation. Burton felt the air harden. One spark, and this was blood. He half expected soldiers to intervene, but none came. Instead, an elder rose. Staff firm in hand, his voice steady as stone.
The tongue can spill blood faster than the spear. Speak with measure.
A hush rippled outward. The Sultan motioned for witnesses. One by one, men stepped into the circle. Some swore upon the Quran, others invoked memory, lineage, even the sand beneath their feet. Each testimony was weighted against precedent, remembered cases, debated with care. Beside the Sultan, the scribe's pen scratched steadily. This was not law of memory alone. It was written, preserved, enforceable. Two frameworks guided the trial. Xeer, the Somali customary law, binding kin in a reciprocal obligations. Sharia, sacred law, which obligated the recording of contracts, oaths, verdicts, marriages, and settlements in writing. Together they formed the jurisprudence, both indigenous and cosmopolitan. Lieutenant Cluton noted in 1849, among the Warsangali, judgment is a communal act. The Sultan's decision is but the echo of elders' will. The merchant's anger lingered. The herdsman's pride held firm. Then the Sultan spoke. His words brief, measured, final. Two camels were led forward, ropes dragging through the dust. Silver clinked on a wooden scales, its weight echoing in silence. The merchant took the restitution with a stiff bow. The herdsman extended his hand for a heartbeat. The air itself seemed to pause. Then palms met, not ink, not seals, but skin to skin, in the open air, before all, a verdict carried in memory, guarded by honor. As I. M. Lewis later wrote, among the Somali, law was never an edict imposed from above, but an agreement woven through kinship and honor. To an outsider, 2 camels and a purse of silver might have seemed trivial, but in this exchange was a principle that reputation, honor, and law were intertwined. To lose face here was to lose credit tomorrow, not only in Lasqorey, but across the Indian Ocean world. And so foreign merchants returned season after season. British records note that Indian and Hadrami traders often preferred Warsangali ports of Lasqorey and Elayo over larger rivals like Aden or Mukalla. Why? because Lasqorey offered predictable customs, safety of goods, and arbitration process they trusted. As historian Gwyn Campbell later wrote, such systems of public participatory arbitration formed a key element in the cosmopolitanism of the Indian Ocean world, linking African, Arab, and Indian legal cultures through mutual recognition. Colonial observers often misunderstood what they saw. They looked for a stone courthouse, gavels, and chains of office, the symbol of European jurisprudence, finding instead an open-air council beneath a tree, a scribe's ledger in Arabic, and verdicts delivered through consensus. They dismissed it as informal, but this was a misreading. The Warsangali were fully literate in Islamic law, which obligated contracts, verdicts, and agreements to be recorded in writing. Scribes documented disputes, debts, marriages, and settlements, not as a custom alone, but as part of a Quranic injunction to record contracts. What seemed unfamiliar to outsiders was in fact a sophisticated fusion of Xeer and Sharia customary practice and Islamic jurisprudence. Oral deliberation and written record, law here was not absent. It was alive, written, spoken, and enforceable, trusted by both Somalis and foreign traders alike. Burton closed his notebook. What he had witnessed was not weakness, but strength. In the Warsangali Sultanate, justice did not depend on empire or armies. It lived in reconciled hands, in the assent of the crowd, in words strong enough to bind strangers. And so while great powers built on stone, Lasqorey endured with nothing more than shade and words strong enough to bind empires at their edge.